I'm inviting everybody to come to the BUBU Expo so that you are able to network with other people, so that you can showcase your goods and services that you have, but also be able to network with government. But so it's important that you come and market your goods. It's important that you come from between the 7th and the 9th. There are events on that day. There is the women's event organized by URA. They are, of course, showcasing your goods, and you'll be able to benefit from other services.
That is the Minister for Trade and Industry, Amelia Chambade. The last time she was here, we caught up with her before she left the building. And of course, that was before the BUBU Expo kicked on. It is now well up and running. And in the studio here with us, we have Miss Faith Ulumonya, who is the Program Officer, Siatini. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. BUBU has been a talk that we have had around for quite some time. It's now even cool to just say BUBU. It's just cool. But how do we propel BUBU, especially with SMEs? She's one that I know is very interested in this conversation because, yes, she's one of those young entrepreneurs we have in the country. But first of all, how is the expo going? How did it go?
The expo ended.
It ended?
Yeah, it ended on 9th.
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday. Yeah. And I was there 2 days. It was good. A number of people brought their products at the expo, and but one of the things that I was disappointed about was the number of those that came to visit, because there were very few. And it showed that perhaps this thing had not been advertised properly, but also that Ugandans have yet to come to actually appreciate. Because when you compare with the UMA show, there are always there are always so many people that come to see what has been brought. But this time around, people were few. In fact, on the first day, there were many more entrepreneurs than on the second and third day. Yeah, so I think the entrepreneurs kept getting discouraged, and some of them didn't come back.
So if we talk about the fact that in Uganda right now we have 90% of those being within the sector, the private sector. So we have a lot of Ugandan entrepreneurs. And when you say they're getting discouraged, is it now on the consumers, us, David and I, who are not supporting Mala? Because that could be the issue. What is it exactly that is happening that could be stopping people from being able to support fellow Ugandans with their businesses?
Well, it's a number of things, because it starts also with the kind of policy framework that we are implementing as a country. We are implementing a liberalized trade policy, and so as a country people are free to import and export. And when I talk about importing, we are even importing things that we are producing, things that we have capacity to produce. And I will give an example of cooking oil. You won't believe that we import cooking oil from as far as Ukraine, and we import peanut butter from South Africa, and we import salt, as well. So when you think about it, it's basically because of the policy framework that we have decided to implement. That is why the situation is as it is. So when an entrepreneur ventures, for example, into making juice, and they have to compete with juice coming in from South Africa, like series, which could even be much cheaper, then their market space is taken, because for local entrepreneurs, the first market for you is your domestic market. So if you cannot take advantage of it because the space is being taken away, then it becomes difficult. And so we are happy about the efforts that government is making to put BUBU which is Buy Ugandan, Build Uganda. But again, there is so much more that government needs to do for us to actually realize the benefits of BUBU.
Speaking of what government can do to realize the benefits of BUBU, you've mentioned that we have products that are being brought into the country, products that we manufacture ourselves. Of course, you do know that Uganda is, a beneficiary of the different treaties that have been signed with the different countries to ensure that there's that symbiotic relationship. We have the liberty to export to other countries, and they have the liberty to import and bring their products into our country. So with regards to those measures, as much as we have tariffs and non-tariff barriers, do we then say that we tighten the non-tariff barriers such that it's harder for the other countries to export, pretty much bring their products in here? How then can we make sure that, as much as we are signees of these treaties, that you get it? It's a tricky balance, pretty much.
And the question you ask is a very important question, because even when we get down to discussing the EAC integration, we have, for example, a few days ago, the president assented to the amended investment code. And one of the things that the amendment takes into account is treating all the other EAC partner states as locals. So at the moment, a Kenyan comes in, they are a local investor. So even their products coming in, that's a local product. And so even when we are talking about BUBU, ideally, perhaps at this point, we should even be talking about Buy East Africa and Build East Africa.
Yeah. To be BB.
But maybe to now talk about our commitment when it comes to the World Trade Organization, because we are signatory to the WTO agreement. And there is what we call the Trade-Related Investment Measures Agreement, TRIMS agreement. And that agreement limits certain countries, not our countries as the poor countries. Ours are the least developed countries. So it limits some of those countries in terms of promoting local content. But it allows us as poor countries to promote local content. And so because of the flexibility it provides for us, that is why our government should not only focus on promoting BUBU under public procurement, which is government procurement, but it should broaden it to actually promote it even when it comes to other products. I'll give you an example. Nigeria in the early 2000s banned importation of textiles, finished textiles and fabrics.
Right.
And the idea was to promote local production, the domestic industry. And that is why you realize that in Nigeria, everyone dresses African. It did not only promote the African fabric industry, but it also promoted the tailoring industry. And different women who had given up on their sewing machines, on their skills, got up and started.
So are you saying that the government of Uganda needs to ban the importation of some products?
We could talk about regulating. Because, again, countries like South Africa have taken to regulating, and they say you do not bring in fabric as an individual or informally. So if you're taking any fabric to South Africa, it has to be through the formal means. So they have specific enterprises that will take in fabric, but you will not get your material and then walk with it into South Africa. It doesn't happen. So those are some of the things that government needs to do.
But then the biggest issue is that if government makes sure that all these steps are taken, the biggest cue in the room would be quality. Quality, Ugandan products, our quality. I've had a number of people say, no, I can't really trust the quality. And then you bring in the issue of UNBS. Has it been, what exactly is going on that end? So what about the quality from the companies that you saw, the entrepreneurs that were at the expo? Where would you gauge our quality of products?
Well, in terms of quality, it ranges from enterprise to enterprise. Some enterprises have good quality. Some are not making much effort because of one reason or another. But when it comes to the discussion about quality, about standards, it could become a bit limiting. So one of the things I was thinking we could then start with is the textiles. Because we have a number of tailors out there that are skilled. For example, I made this dress here.
You did?
Yes.
It's beautiful.
It's lovely.
And some people do not believe. Some people think that I actually bought it from maybe Ghana or Nigeria, but I made it here. So if we could start with those products that we do not have, that may not necessarily impact on our health directly in terms of standards, that could be one of the things that we could start with. Furniture would be another. So for us to look at all the alternatives, it will require for government to take a deliberate effort to actually implement BUBU.
I think one of the issues we've had with BUBU is the mentality of us Ugandans. We don't believe that we ourselves can create or produce good enough products for our own consumption. We seem to appreciate the products that are brought in more than the products that are made here. What are you doing to swerve that mentality away from the way we think about Ugandan products?
Well, that is why we are talking about how do we reform the policy environment, because when something is made available, you will definitely, if a variety is made available, you most likely choose what you prefer. But if only a limited variety or limited products have been made available, then that is what you will buy. And like I gave the case of Nigeria. When they started off, people were very disappointed. They did not want to go with the flow in terms of the designs, because some of the outfits were really looking ugly. But as time went on, we all know the designs that come from Nigeria.
Right.
Yes. So make them available, and then Ugandans won't have a choice.
Yeah, it's like the parent-child relationship. You just tell them this and the meals are available.
Exactly.
You either eat this or not. We have seen the president very many times push for it, putting on those locally made shirts. I think the color is what has really disturbed us, but he has tried out white as well. But the problem is now we don't know which companies are making what, because now when you go out on the market, it's easier to access these things that are brought into the country more than the products that are made here. It's easier to access them, yet the products that are made here should be easier to access.
Yeah, it's easier to access because the imported products, because they have been given a shelf space. So you go to a supermarket. Recently I walked through, I won't mention the supermarket, and I was amazed. There was no salt from Uganda. There was no salt from Uganda. There was only one packet, one tin of peanut butter from Uganda. There was no honey from Uganda. And I mean, these are products that are made here. Right. And you will walk into any local supermarket, any local shop and find them, but they were not there. Oil, when it came to oil, okay, Mukwano has tried, and I think that is one thing that Mukwano has helped to put Uganda on the map in terms of manufactured products. But Mukwano still faces competition on the local market from products, like I said, from Ukraine. So we have rice. Rice, they only had one brand, so one local brand.
Do we then say that the enforcement of a policy to supermarkets has to be taken as soon as yesterday, just like it is in media? In media, there's that policy whereby local content has to be pretty much up to 60% of what is aired. So do we then say with the major supermarkets, outlets, retail shops, then that has to be enforced?
I'll talk about the media content with another example. But so the issue is to do with the fact that the legal framework that is in place, which is the BUBU policy, is not, it's what I would call best endeavor. So you will not take someone to court because they have violated the provisions of our policy. So that is why one of the things that we are saying, that government needs to take a step further and develop a law
Okay.
that actually enforces, but also that emphasizes that if you breach some of the provisions, then this is the penalty.
Okay.
That is when certain supermarkets will actually wake up.
Okay.
But also in terms of the public procurement, one of the things that struck us was the BUBU policy provides for 20% local content when it comes to public procurement, government procurement. But then countries like Kenya in their public procurement provide for 40%. Yeah, so 20% is very little.
Right.
So we need more to be done on the space of regulation in order to push BUBU further and ahead, because as of now, in Uganda alone, if you did not know, local investors, especially the SMEs, comprise of approximately 90% of the country's private sector. So as you maybe buy something today in a supermarket or throughout the week as you do your shopping, as you wait on the government to put in their regulations, how about you make sure at least 3 products in your shopping cart are Ugandan, or even in your house, in your kitchen, you have them. I think that's us doing our BUBU bit of things on the morning at NTV. Thank you so much, Miss Faith Lumonya, for joining us. She's from Siatini and she is the programs officer. Now, keep it morning at NTV because we're going to be getting into reality on the ground. And as we do, I'm going to ask you one simple question. Why